welcome to this Supercharged live stream. I'm Paul.
And I'm Surma.
You see, he's my favorite of all the Surmas. Today we're going to build a router. Now, strictly speaking, a router, well, it's not a UI element, is it, really, typically, but it's in control of view transitions, particularly in something like a progressive web app. And somebody recommended it, they sort of suggested it on Twitter, and we talked about it, and we thought, yeah, why not? Let's give it a go. And actually, I realized as I was thinking it through that there's plenty of opportunities to do some fun stuff in there. Not least of which will be some custom elements. We're going to give that a whirl today. I haven't done much with them. They have just seemingly landed for reals in a bunch of places. Anyway, we're going to give it a go. What happens? Who knows? That's why we're watching it, I suppose, because anything could happen. Cool. Right. As usual, a couple of caveats. Firstly, the code will be prototype style code. It won't necessarily be like production ready, always worth mentioning. There may be accessibility issues and things like that that would also need to be sort of dealt with before taking it further. But I'm going to be mainly focusing on something that hopefully will be performant and something that will be a good first iteration. All right, so that out of the way.
As always, I'm going to be here in the chat and on Twitter looking for the questions that you have, because as always, you have the chance to actually influence where we are going with this and interrupt us and maybe confuse us and make us more bugs.
Yeah,
in there than
you interrupt him, he interrupts me. It's all good. It's like real life.
It's
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm going to code now. Right, so what we got on screen. Yes, so one of the things I want to say is that I'm going to be building this router as though it was a single page web app where all the content's going to come into the page on the start. And the reason for that is purely for simplicity at this stage, so that this live stream doesn't run for like hours and hours and hours. So bear with me. Right, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to drop in a custom element. I'm going to call it, do you know what? We could have come up with a, let's call it, tell you what, I'm going to call it
super router.
Super router. I'm going to call it SC for Supercharged. There you go. SC router.
Oh, we got some branding in there.
Yeah, why not? That's great. That's a really good start. Script. Defer, why not? Source equals static. Let's do this. Static scrouter.js. That seems like a thing that I would want to do. Right, let's drop in this file then. New file. scrouter.js. Like that, just like that. I'm going to do JS.
So recently I told you about my project where I was building a router, and I was really proud of it. And I told you about it and how I used all these fancy techniques. And you were like, I totally did that half a year ago. And I have new ideas. So thank you for making me feel like an idiot. I'm actually hoping I will learn.
Now you're making it sound like I'm mean to you. You are the nicest. I'm the nicest something. Oh, it's fine. Anyway.
You are a decent work colleague.
Decent. You are a passable work colleague, Paul. I put up with you most days. So.
Yep.
Good. Right, document dot register. Oh, register element, and we were going to call that, what do we call it? We called it SC router, and we'll go SC router. Now, if this works, we'll do a attached callback, which I love the name of that because that's like.
So don't you need an extends?
Yes, I do. Extends HTML element. Thank you. Extends that, and we'll do console.log attached. Look at that. All being well, let's see. So I've got myself, look at that. Woo! That unexpected number. Why did I do a number?
In line 2?
That's weird.
Listen.
Wow. We have an issue. No, static. There we go. Let's try that. Yay. It's because so what I've done is just so you know, because I'm expecting that we'll have deep links like, you know, /about, /whatever for our different sections that we're going to route between. I want whatever URL I go to when I hit refresh, I want it to come back to the same index HTML. I'm going to route to the same index HTML. And so I've set up an app engine, like single file Python kind of thing that just does that routing for me. So what happened there was it was sending me to the wrong file. So that's good.
I think the whole thing is called HTML5 routing, which is something that on the front end is very popular, using push state and actually using proper URLs. But all the development servers don't necessarily have good support. So you always end up writing like a 3-line Python file or a 3-line Go file to actually emulate this entire behavior.
Yep. Okay, so in the attached callback, so what we want to do is we're going to do, let's see, window.add event listener. So we know that we're going to get a pop state. We'll do this .onChanged, I guess. Let's see, so onChanged, we may as well do that now here. OnChanged, there we go. And then we can do detached callback. So if we remove this router element, we could do window dot remove event listener. You know what I've realized? I'm going to do this dot on changed, but I'm going to have to do it like this.
Are you going to do the Paul Lewis special?
Yeah, because otherwise it will be run against the event target.
So is there a created callback? Do you know?
There might be, but should we find out? Created callback. Is that?
Otherwise, you would be binding over, like creating new bindings every time it's attached, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do that.
Sorry.
Then. Fine. You're here to help. Hello. Let's find out. Created callback. Oh, there is one. Let's do that then. Woohoo! That's like, see, in classes world, that would have been the constructor, right?
True.
So there we go. So we created. So every time we create one of these, we'll create one of those. When you attach it, great. When you detach it, we'll get rid of that. So that seems good. So other thing we'll probably want to do is we'll actually probably want to call the on change. So my on change is going to be the thing that I think is going to be watching for whatever the current path is. And then it's going to be the one that decides what to do with the views.
I guess one interesting question for this is, where do you draw the line what the job of a router is? What is it supposed to do and what is outside of its scope? What are you planning on putting into this router in particular?
Okay, so yeah, that's a really good question, because one of the things that I've discovered over doing routers for a good number of years is that or let me put it another way. The mistake that a lot of people seem to make is they make their router kind of only passive. So it's only ever watching the URL change.
I've done that. Yeah. I've felt the pain.
So then what you do is, like, in other parts of your code, you're like, oh, change the URL, change it here, change it again, change it here. And the router's kind of going, do I now control the view and switch that out? Or who's doing what here? And you get this really uncanny valley. If everything goes through the router and it's active as well as passive, and it's the one that changes the URL and it's the one that controls everything, that one tends to work out much better. So that's the model I'm going to go with today.
And I feel I agree. Like it feels a little bit weird that the router should influence certain visual aspects, like changing classes or actually triggering animations. But once you get over that, it feels so good and it feels very robust. So I think it's a very valid concept for a router.
Okie doke. So what I want to do is, I think, let's assume we got, so like I said, it's going to be like a single page app where all the content's in the HTML. So we're just going to switch between these views inside the HTML. A better version of this would be something that loads those views, over fetch or something like that, and then populates dynamically. But for time, I'm not going to go with that today. I'm just going to do something else. So let's just do call app view, something like that.
Not a supercharged view.
No. I felt like.
All right.
Oh, well, I mean, I could. Would that make you happy? Let's make you happy. There we are. A supercharged view. Let's have a few of those. And let's say this is like the about, and this is the, I don't know. Actually, let's make this the home view. It's going to be about, contact, and some kind of misc. Misc. That'll do it. Right. So we've got home, about, contact, and misc. And what each one of these we're going to do, I suppose, is we need to have a root for each one of those views. So I'm going to put like a root attribute on here, and I'm going to be like, I'm going to make it as a regular expression, because that might be helpful. So if we say it begins with home, in fact, the home we'll just do is the /, and then it should end with that. Yeah, so that will be fine. Root equals about, and it should have the slash. Go on. You sound like you're about to interrupt.
Yeah,
me.
we have a question.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of mean, because I made you use the created callback, and now we're being asked no constructor but created callback.
I know.
And I think it's just in terms of custom elements, it feels like you should more rely on the actual lifecycle callbacks than the constructor.
The constructor doesn't get called
at all.
No.
Interesting.
So if I tell you what we'll do is, let me just finish this up, contact, and we'll do a misc here. Let's do this where we do constructor at the top. Constructor console.log hello world. And the reason is, as far as I understand it, the register element is going to take the prototype, and all these functions are going to be on the prototype. The constructor is the instantiator. It is going to be on the actual, as it were, the function in old school terms. So this should never be called, all being well. See? So we have our thing. So since the constructor is never called, you do actually have to rely entirely on those lifecycle callbacks.
So in terms, if somebody doesn't know, classes are just syntactic sugar on top of functions. So all the code that you have in a constructor is in that function that you can use with a new operator. In this case, this has never been used because we are using custom elements API. So it will take care of you ripping out functions from the prototype and actually putting it onto an element. So the constructor is just being thrown away effectively.
Yes, at this point. SC view. So I'm going to make a new one for the view. JS, and we'll do SC view, and then we're going to do document dot register element, and we'll do SC view, and then we'll do SC view here, like so. And we don't want the constructor anymore. We want, let's see, we can do get root, and we will say return. One of the reasons I like this, so I need to extends HTML element again. Return this dot get attribute. So because it's an actual HTML element, it's actually really quite nice. Well done to Rob Dodson for suggesting that I do this. Bob Dodd, the Doddinator, as also known. He suggested, he was like, why don't you use custom elements? So good on him. All right, so get attribute root or null.
And it's actually viable to use custom elements. The polyfill is 6 kilobytes gzipped.
Yeah.
And it even works in Safari. So and it makes your app so much more structured,
yeah,
I think.
I think it's like i10 plus as well.
Wow.
So it is fairly well supported.
I'll drop a link in the chat.
Good man. Right, so when we attach, what we want to do is I think we want to do this dot create roots or something like that. Let's do that. And what we'll do is pop that there, and we'll do document. I'm going to do this kind of a declarative way. Query selector all SC view. I can do for let view of that, so because it will give me that, and I can do if view dot root. That should work. We could do if not continue. So if we don't have a root for some reason, view.root, and I can say new regular expression because I want to make a regular expression around that, and I want to make it case insensitive. And then I could do, let's see, so we need, okay, so this dot, I tell you what we'll do, this dot create root. That, and then view, and then we need to actually make this right, which will be the root, and it will be the view, and then we'll say this dot roots dot set root view, and we can say if this dot roots, because I'm going to do a map here, has,
look at you,
I know, return console dot warn root already exists. Because we don't want multiple roots being handled by the same thing here at this point. I mean, again, an improvement to this would be something that's a lot more nuanced in terms of the roots it supports and stuff. But I'm not going to go there just at this particular point. Let's do that actually. Woo! I made my code angry. Root. So let's do that. If we've already got the root, otherwise do this. So we need to actually create one of these. So the created callback, we're going to do this dot roots equals new map. And what we'll do is when you attach it, we will do this dot, do it here. Actually, we could do it in the create roots. No, I'll do it here. This dot roots. If we do clear, let's do a clear roots function. There you go. That'll do it. Create root. Clear roots. There we are. This dot roots dot clear should clear the map.
So just to summarize this, you're grabbing all the SC view elements on the page, you're grabbing the regex out of the attribute and building a map that maps from the root to these individual elements.
Yes, I am exactly what I'm going to do. And let's just make sure that this is actually working. Console, I say working. We're just going to I mean, you could use the debugger statement here, but for me, this might just be faster. I was going to say faster, but maybe not.
I don't know if curse sector is iterable. Maybe we need to do array from.
It should.
Oh no, array from takes an iterable as well. That should work as well.
Let's do Chrome. Let's see which version. It's up to date. Let's see whether it's localhost 8080. Yeah, you see, it's in the newer Chrome. I wonder whether the Chrome I had there was a little bit on the older side.
That might very well have happened.
Let's switch to Canary then, or we just do array.from, which would also work. Zoom in
on all of the panels.
On all of the things. There you go. Good man. Good point. Well made, sir. So since that didn't actually fire though, let's just find out what's going on. Console.log view, because we expected something from that. So we definitely get those.
We get all the elements. That's nice.
So view.root. So let's see if. Oh, I know why. I know why. Because I have the router, but I don't have.
We don't have any JavaScript for it.
There we go. So now they're actually being instantiated and handled and all that kind of stuff, and that's great news. So now we've got a map with all the routes and the views. What we'll do is let's throw in. Again, you would probably componentize this a little bit better than I'm doing. So let's just do style, superstyles.css. Why not? And we'll do a link.
So we have a couple of people in the chat who apparently are not that familiar with the ES 2015 updates on the JavaScript language. I encourage you all to look at it and use it, because it makes JavaScript so much better of a language.
Yeah.
The amount of pain it reduces in just addressing certain problems that you usually encounter when writing apps, it's so good.
I actually love it. HTML body, padding, 0. Hopefully you can still read what I'm typing, you know? I know it's a bit different, but hopefully, yeah, that's worked. Oh, that's the old one. It's the old Chrome. Let's switch across there from there to there. Okay, so that's working.
And yeah, additional information, ES 2015 used to be called ES6. ES 2016 was ES7.
Yes.
And now we have, since they're planning to do a release every year, they're sticking to the year-based versioning.
Yeah, so there'll be no anything below 2015, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We just skipped 2000 versions.
Yeah, it's good. That's fine.
All fine.
It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's actually really helpful, I think, because it kind of puts people in the mindset of it's not just this major release version. I mean, I don't know why they chose it, but I hear it and I'm like, it just kind of gives you a rough idea of when this thing actually landed. You know, not necessarily. And the support for them is amazing. Like, across browser now, like even a year ago, it was like, oh, you need a transpiler. Now, you know, if you're on an evergreen, it's really good. And if you're not, you've still got the transpilers. So.
Most browsers have like 99% support of the features for all of ES 2015.
Yeah, it's amazing. Really solid. Right, back to the code then. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make each view, I'm going to do like position fixed, top 0, left 0, right 0. I'm going to do the right and bottom 0 thing. I'm not going to do width 100%, 100%. I've improved as a human-ish. Okay, yeah, I knew you wouldn't believe me. So that would, in theory, place all the views on top of each other like that, which is fine. Let's see. So I'm going to do opacity 0, and I'm going to do, let's see, opacity 0, and I'm going to do pointer events none. And I'm going to assume that we'll have some kind of visible, this is the active view class. So let's do a visible. Anybody who's seen my I/O talk knows what I'm doing here about using opacity 0 and pointer events none. The reason I do it is when I want something to be primed and ready for animations. It's not always perfect, but basically if I set visibility to hidden or display to none, they'll be removed from the render tree. This way it should be a little bit more primed and ready to actually like bring the view in. But again, this will be a trade-off because you've potentially got all these views ready to go, and so if you had lots of them, again, it's I think a more advanced version, and we can come back to this if you're enjoying the router. When we're done, we can come back and we could do another live stream where we take it on and do like the more advanced stuff that we probably won't get time to do today.
Refine the entire thing, give it more features that you may have been requesting over Twitter, for example.
Yes, which is why you should be on the chat doing the whole, hi, I have ideas, because that helps us. Pointer events auto, right, so when the view is there and when it's visible, we'll do that. So that's fine, so we'll actually have nothing on screen because they've all been set to hidden, which is fine. What I'll do is I'll just do like class equals home, something, oh, maybe just like view home, something like that. What we got? View about, view whatever, view about, view contact, view misc. That's good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to color code these so that it's kind of a little bit more obvious. Background red, that's going to be bright. Contact is going to be a blue. Let's see, what else did I have? I had home
Misc.
contact. I had misc. That was the last one.
And about.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Ooh. I hope I'm not screwing you over right now.
No, I'm sure you're not. It's going to be, we'll do black, and we'll do color white, and background green. Wow, this is going to be really horrible. Oh well. Paul writes tremendous code once again. 24 pixels. Let's do font family Arial sans serif. There we go. Okay, so we're all kind of set, except for the fact that now we've actually got to make the router do its thing. And for that, I think we're going to have a nav. So I'm going to create a nav so we can actually kind of toggle between these various sections. So let's see, we'll do a UL. Li, and this is the point where somebody goes, use Emmet because you're being so slow, Paul. It's like, fair enough, and I still haven't got to doing that. You know, yeah.
So we've just been asked that you very prominently keep saying, as long as you do all your stuff in 100 milliseconds, it's fine if you want to start an animation or something.
Yeah.
So, and apparently, and on a desktop, obviously it works in under 100 milliseconds to just attach something new to the DOM, have it rasterized.
Yeah.
So keep in mind that this should also work on mobile. And mobile devices are not as fast at rasterization. So that's why we have to resort to actually keeping it not only in the DOM, but actually having to keep it painted.
Yeah, and actually opacity 0 might actually be, there might be an optimization, I think, in Chrome that basically would stop that being painted. So we might have to work around it if we see a big, sort of, kind of a big green flash when the view first shows up. I'm hoping we won't see that today, but we might. But yes, whoever's asking that question, absolutely. So we have this performance model called Rail. If you tap something and you expected something to sort of happen on screen in response to that tap, you want it to happen in a tenth of a second. Otherwise, it doesn't feel good. It just feels laggy, and that kind of upsets users. But whoever's saying is like, when you attach something, it takes a long time to kind of get from 0 to something that you can show is absolutely right. And that's why you've got to be really tactical about kind of attaching and detaching things. And it's a trade-off because you've got memory constraints and all that kind of other stuff. Right, so we have, if I'm not confused, yes, we've got a nav with a bunch of links to the various sections. And let's see, what do I want to do? I want to actually style that. I'm just going to go ahead and just style the nav directly today. Nav, I'm going to do position fixed.
Oh.
Right, 10, top 10 pixels, and I'm just going to say background, and I'm going to do a box shadow because why not? 0, 2 pixels, 4 pixels, RGBA, 255, 255, 255, 0.3. I enjoy that one. Padding.
White shadow?
10. Oh, you're right. No, I meant 0.
You've written that particular line of box shadow, I think, a million times.
I don't know what's going on with me today, dude. Border radius, that's what I mean. Yeah, 3 pixels. All right, so all being well, we end up with some kind of, yeah, okay, it's not the prettiest, not the prettiest. Top, right, bottom, left.
Do you have a mnemonic device to remember in which order?
Top, right, bottom, left. It's compass.
Oh.
North, east, south, west.
Why are they doing it clockwise? The mathematical order would be counterclockwise.
I don't know. But I just remember it as never.
But today I learned.
North, east, south, west. Right. So there you go. Anyway, so it thinks I'm there. Now, by default, as I say, this would actually take you to these various sections, which is absolutely what we want. So you can, again, in the kind of the perfect world scenario, the server would actually just respond with the HTML for each of these pages. In my case, it's responding with the same HTML. Which, as I say, is just to keep things simple.
So it's not very visible, but right now it's an actual link with an actual complete site reload.
Yeah, and that's really, it is actually an important thing that we progressively enhance, especially if you're making a progressive web app with the kind of clues in the name. And again, part of this is like taking real links and then we're going to hijack them, but it means that you can actually get to the various sections if JavaScript is disabled or there's some kind of error or just something goes wrong. You know, it should be that it's a link and it should work. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm at least trying to maintain it, at least in this simple version. As I say, you could be a little bit more advanced about it. Right, so the other thing I need to do is I'm just going to, this is going to be pretty raw, this bit, I think. Because all I'm going to do is I'm going to say document.query selector all, and I'm going to ask for all the anchors, and I'm going to do for let link of that. I'm going to do link.add event listener on click for clicks, and on click function on click.
This is one of the bits that is not production quality code properly.
Definitely not.
We're hijacking all the links.
Yeah, and we don't care. We're just right. Prevent the default, and then we're going to do tell you what we need. We're going to say const router equals document.query selector.
So for the people, we have gained a lot more viewers in the meantime. So for the people who joined a little bit later, hi, this is Paul,
Hi.
This is Surma, and we are building a router. So we are building the component that actually handles transitioning between the different views in your app, and hopefully it will do it in a very nice, elegant way. And we're actually using the custom elements API this time around. So we're building our own elements.
I mean, it's all new to me, but that's the point of being a web developer sometimes, isn't it? You know, trying new stuff. I mean, there's always new stuff to try. We're never short of new stuff to try. And so far, yeah, we've basically got ourselves some views that we're going to transition between. We've got ourselves a non-visible element for the router, and we've got then some JavaScript that we're kind of working our way through. And at the moment, I'm just hijacking these anchors here. In fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the, let's see, the nav anchors. So it's just the anchors there.
So
actually,
questions.
no,
the question actually ties in with another question we had in chat.
Yes.
The question was, what does defer mean on a script? And I actually know the answer to this one myself.
Go.
So defer means that the evaluation and execution of the JavaScript will be postponed until the entire HTML document has been parsed and put into the DOM. So that this way, the script tag becomes non-blocking. So if you have script tags at the top and you have defer, you won't block until this JavaScript is run, but it will continue parsing the HTML, put everything on screen, and then execute the JavaScript. And into that, I want to remark that you have referred your custom elements JavaScript, but not the one that executes, but you use the API of the router. Will that work?
Good point. The defer, I don't know, we'll find out. The defer also means that these should be executed in order as well. That's the other thing.
Yeah, that is important. That is very important to know.
There are bugs in older browsers where that doesn't necessarily end up being true. So you've got to always be careful. You might need a script loader. Again, I'm just operating with a certain bunch of assumptions, but for production, yeah, you'd have to probably figure some of that stuff out. Should we find out whether it actually works?
Yeah, that would actually be very interesting.
Well, I don't see any errors.
That is amazing.
So I'm going to call that, and it says router.go is not a function because I haven't actually written it, so we should add that. So when you call .go, this will be the active part now. So I'm going to give it a URL, and I'm going to do window.history.pushState, and I'm going to say null, which is the state object, or is that the title?
No, it's the state object, then title.
Then the URL.
Yeah.
So we want to do that, and then we want to say this .onChange. So we're going to push the URL, and then we're going to basically, in the same way when you pop state here, we're going to check what the current URL is. So then we will now need to go in here, which is our onChanged, and we'll say this .roots. Hang on, what we need to do, I'll tell you what we'll do, is we'll say const path, yeah, window.location .path name. How exciting. We're going to ask, words, Paul, words, here we go.
English.
Well, yeah, that's the one. We're going to actually ask what the path name is, and then what we're going to do is we're going to, let's see, for. Or actually, do we want to do a for? No, I'll tell you what we'll do. Const roots equals array.from, and we're going to do this.roots.keys. So this will be all the different regular expressions, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to do that, and then we're going to say const root equals roots.find, and then we give that a callback function. So if the root is, if we test it against the path, so if that works, that should be that. If we don't have a root, we can return. So basically, this is if we don't find a match. Now, if we did find a match, this will be the bit where we now need to kind of start toggling views and so on. So let's have a think about this. So we need to find out which view it is. So const view is going to be roots, this.roots.get, and then we're going to get from the root, and that will give us the view back. And, oh, we're probably going to want to keep a track on that, so that it's the current view. So if it's the current view, there we are. Actually, no, let's tell you what we'll do. We'll do const new view. And so we can say, if there is a current view, just bear with me. I think this is going to work. So we know, yep. Okay, so there's a current view. Thinking it through. Okay, let's see what we need to do. So the new view, by default, what we'd want to do is we want to say new view dot in. Let's say we've got a function that's going to do that. But we know that if there's an existing view, we have to transition that out, right? So
let me guess, there's an out function.
there is an out. Yeah. I'm assuming, by the way, I'm going to put. Let me see. There's going to be an in function here. There's going to be an out function as well when this view has to leave, and we're going to do an update function in case you kind of go to, you're in /about and you go about something else. And we're just going to tell the current view to like update itself. So we'll assume they all take some kind of data, which I think we can probably figure out from the regular expression. Right, so we get the root, and let's see. So we want to know if there's a current view. So, okay, so hang on, let's do this. If this dot current view, why not? Let's do that. If there's a current view, and if the current view is the same as the new view, then we tell the current view to update. And I'll tell you what we need to do as well. Let's do the get the data const data equals. Let me see. It'll be root dot. Yeah, it'll be root dot exec against the path. That would then executes against the regular expression against the path name. So because in my code here I've got like capturing stuff, so that in theory that can get passed through, and then the view could decide what to do with that data when it's got it. So that's kind of handy. So we need to pass that in there. So if there's a current view, and if the current view matches the new one that we've tried to bring in, then the current view can just update. So we could return there. So we can return that. Here we're going to do this dot current view dot out, which we're going to pass the data as well, and we need to wait for that to finish before that one comes in. So
why do you need data and out?
You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
I actually get it because
So let's say, for example, you're going out from your current view, and let's say, for example, you're doing a fancy transition from one section to another. Let's say you've got a fancy transition from about to contact, and that's different from your standard one. And what you might do, the data is going to contain the new path. So you're going to be telling the about view who's incoming.
Yeah.
Which in this case would be contact, and it could go, oh, I've got a special case for that. I'll do my animation for that.
That's exactly the problem that I have run into right now, that I want to have a special animation for an overlay.
There you go.
And it just looks stupid right now. So I might have to actually add that to my router.
There you go, you see? Handy. All right, so we've got this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, so let's say out view promise. So I'm going to use some promises here. If you've not used promises, this might look a little bit strange, and hopefully you'll follow along, but if not, there's plenty of stuff that we can read. You can read, and I'm sure if you ask the question, Surma here will pop in some links. So we're going to say that, and we're going to assume that by default there is no out animation, so we'll just resolve the promise immediately. However, if we had to do the out, we're going to update the out view promise to that, which means we'll have to code that into here. And so we'll say out view promise dot then, and then we can do that. So,
and this really is the power of promises, that you can just write chains of promises that will execute one after the other. And it can be about transitions, it can be just loading data, and you know all the steps beforehand will have continued when your code is being run.
All right, so what I want to do is I want to do this thing where each view is just going to sort of kind of push back and fade out, and the other one's going to pull in and fade in. And I'm going to fade one out immediately, like fully, and then I'm going to bring in the next one. So it kind of gives us this push-pull kind of feel for my transitions. It's just our transition. This could be anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a transition on transform.
People keep asking how they can be notified if we are going live. And it's First of all, you should be subscribing to the YouTube channel because we send out notifications when we go live.
That's true.
And also, go to the Twitters and follow us.
That's also true. It tends to be Thursdays at 2:30, roughly speaking, once a month. So I expect it from now. But you know what? We can always do more. If you like.
Altruist at the sermon will let you know.
Yeah, that's the ones. We appreciate you asking because we're enjoying doing them. So there we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these animations super slow to begin with, just so that we can actually see what's happening and debug any issues if there are any. So 0.31. Just we want to do the same for opacity. Opacity. Don't take that, Paul. Take that bit there. So. There we go, and we need a transform scale 0.95. So it's a little bit pushback, and then we'll do transform none. There we are. Transforms and opacity, super duper stuff. So in our view, what we're going to do is we'll do return. I'm going to return a new promise, and that's going to resolve or reject, and we're going to say. Const on transition end is going to be that. I should really be. I haven't fired up this code in quite a while now, so this
it is becoming the danger zone where it will most definitely not work. But you've written so much you don't actually know what is the cause.
Yeah, and I'm going to not believe it if it did work. So this class list, we're going to add a visible class because we know that that's going to. Where is it? That's the visible class here that we added on. So we're going to have that added on. Okay, so we're going to do that, and we're going to ask for the transition end. So this add event listener transition end on transition end, and we're going to do this dot remove event listener on that, and then we're going to resolve the promise at this point. So we're going to add the visible class. And when the transition's ended, we're going to resolve the promise, which would allow anything that was chained against that. And the same will be true for the out. Let's do that as well. So let's do that. And here we're going to just return promise.resolve.
One thing to keep in mind when you do these systems where you have promises that chain onto each other, if one of these promises fails, all the subsequent ones will not execute. So you will have to add handlers if you want the other subsequent chains to be executed anyways.
Yeah.
So think about your error handling, which is always good advice, actually. But in this case, it's even more important because suddenly you will just have a system that doesn't react anymore because promise is handled just dangling in the air, not being resolved or rejected.
What could go wrong?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, so let's see. So we've got, in theory, we've got something that when it comes in, it's going to return a new promise. It's going to add the visible class. It's going to wait for the transition end. When that happens, it's going to remove that and resolve. Same for out, except that it removes that class. So we could probably, if we were being a little bit dry, we could remove some of this stuff here. But all the same, we've got it. And then just the update, because it's not going to do anything immediately. I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll just console.log data for now, just so that we can see that there is some data. So let's see the view promise. If the current view is the new view. The current view, we haven't done anything with the current view. So the first time through, current view will be set to nothing. So let's see. So the new view, let's see, is going to be that. And we could say the current view, blah, blah, blah. Well, in theory, we could just say the current view is the new view, right? I think that will. I mean,
that sounds about right.
It will work for probably this
We have faded
version.
out the old one, and so the new current view is the.
So we're in /misc. Ooh, now the nav has disappeared. So let's.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No, we don't want that. So let's see if we can just put a z index of 1 on that and bring that back. Okay, so yay! So this has already started to work, incidentally, because we've gone to /misc, as in we've deep linked to the /misc. The root has picked it up. It's added the transition in on the misc view. All the other views. So if we look at the elements, you can see that misc is visible. Contact and about and home aren't. So let's go to contact. So that's going to fade that out and brings in the visible.
It is literally working as intended.
Oh,
that is amazing.
Oh, that doesn't normally happen. Normally, when I write code, it's normally a massive panic because
we need a bug for this live stream.
Yeah, somebody
write something.
Yes, I'll write some code. Don't worry. Somebody actually remarked. They were like, "I see you've had your customary one bug for this episode." And it's like you're giving us way too much credit. Like, I write code and there's bugs. I'm a developer. We write bugs, don't we?
We were kind of amazed ourselves that we hit like the 1 hour mark on the last 2 episodes, and we're just waiting for it to go wrong.
Yeah.
Horribly, horribly wrong.
Very, very wrong. But it didn't. So anyway, so this is actually working as intended. But one of the things that I think we'll need to account for is this. If you go like, let's see, home, about, contact, MISC, right? We want MISC to come in. But did you see in the background there?
There was a weird mixture of colors.
Yeah, and actually look, home, about, and contact and MISC are all deciding that they're visible. And I think this is because of the fact that those promise chains are all kind of, we've got a few, like every time you call on change, we create that promise chain.
Yeah.
And so it's a bit like a call order thing almost. It just kind of goes.
The last one wins, but the
one.
other ones are still happening in the background.
Yes. So that's something to fix in this situation, which is why if you're going to do something like this, it's always useful to have your transitions run slow and to like mimic that sort of fast click or just kind of click back and forth in the browser. The history controls, so you can kind of find that out.
So we have a question.
Yeah.
In production, would you load each view at a later time? And I think that is something that we would actually implement in one of the...
Yes.
In Router episode 2, so to speak, if that is going to happen.
If people want us to do that, if want us to come back and do like the more advanced router, I think definitely. So the fact that I've got one HTML that's always serving the same content for every deep link, I think is not what you'd want. I think you'd want each of these views here in my HTML. I think you'd want each one of those to be its own separate document. You'd do a fetch, treat it as a document. So what we'd probably do is we'd probably have a container element, something like that, in the app that would be like, here's where that view needs to live when you've loaded it. And then when you click it, we'd probably do something like a race where we put up a spinner if it takes too long to fetch it in, and then get that document.
You could actually write a custom element that is an SC remote view that instead of having actual contents inside, just takes a content URL that it fetches and stuffs it in there, and then it works.
Yeah, and that I think would be better. And certainly, as I say, what we're doing right now is we've kind of got all these elements primed and ready to go, and that isn't going to scale very well. It's going to mean that you have potentially huge documents, but that kind of handling of attaching and detaching and so on can get quite convoluted. And this is the simplest possible version of a router that I know about. So that's why I wanted to do it in this, so that we're not spending forever on your time as we go through it. So I'm going to try and fix this issue with all of them being visible. And I think the easiest way to probably do it would be to add a kind of a block around this here, with the code around the promises. And I think probably the way to think about this is that when there's an animation going on, we want to store. So if I was to click, no, wrong browser ball. If I was to click, 1, 2, 3, 4, very quickly, whichever one's going out, I would want it to be the last one that clicked that kind of came back in.
Yeah.
Okay. So since that's the case,
and if somebody clicked while it was coming in, it would still finish and then go back out, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So let's see what we can do here. This is always a bit fiddly when I think this through. So let's say we want to do. So we're going to do. So this one we should allow them to do this, and then we say so if it's not animating. If it's not animating, or if it is animating, let's do that. If it is animating, return. So we don't let them do anything like that. That by default will be undefined, so we can now say that that's true. When the current view that's gone out has gone, we could do this, that animating is false. We can reset that. So now we're going to allow interactions back in, so that this code should run. I think that would that work. This is where, as I say, this is where it gets complicated. So
well, what you would want to do, so we have this flag when we are basically in a transition right now. That is what animating is supposed to mean, right?
Yes.
And when we are in an animation, in the out animation more so, we want to override this view that is supposed to come in instead of chaining it on top.
This sort of new view here would be no good to us. So we want to set, where have we got new view? So let's get rid of that and make that so this not.
Yeah, it needs to be a class variable.
Yeah, so we can store it for kind of future. So if the current view matches the new view, blah, 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 and then this.new view, whatever that current value is. So let's see. So that is fine. We get a promise for this, but this. Oh, do we even want this? I don't know. We'll see how we get on here. Let's see what happens. So we'll do this. Did it break? It broke. Okay, we broke things. Here's our customary bug.
That is so relieving.
New view is not defined. So where's new view? Yeah, I know, right? New view, new view, new view. There we go. This is current view equals this dot new view. That should do it.
Yep.
Yeah. So this would only apply. Wait. Is that going to work? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. No, it's not going to work.
It's not?
No, because what we want to do is we say the new view, and we want to. I think we want to do it here.
No. We want to fade out the current view afterwards, and once we arrive, I think you might want to do that in the promise, right?
Let's find out.
Let's find out. Let's fail.
So that. There we go. It is doing the right thing. Oh no, it's not. So it's kind of closer, right? Because so what's happening here is you come into MISC, and say you're going to about like that, and then you click home. It'll bring in home. But when I click on contact, that should allow it to disappear at this particular point. This is always fun code, isn't it? Right, so let's do this step by step then. Right, figure out the new view. So that's fine. And then, let's see. So, I have to write, sometimes I write out my code in English so that I actually can understand, because I just sometimes look at clauses and I'm
because you
like,
don't have to juggle it all in your head anymore. You can actually remind yourself.
So if there is a current view, so if there's a current view, if it's one we already have, just update it, so that's fine. Otherwise, we animate it out. Right.
Yeah. I think we're pretty confident with that particular if branch of the thing.
Yeah. And now this is the bit where we want to, so we can call out potentially a lot of times here, which I don't like. That feels, oh no, it feels okay. It feels okay, but it's not great.
Shouldn't you be setting animating there, because once you actually start calling out, it will actually be faded out?
Yeah. So that's what I was wondering, is whether we shouldn't be blocking where we are. So we'll find out. But let's see. I'm just going to move it up here for now, because if there's a current view but we're animating, we don't care.
Yeah.
Right. So
and then set it.
Yeah. So we'll do that here. Yep. Oh, come on, Paul. There we go. So we're going to see that. So that's fine. But the only thing is now the oh no, the new view, that should work. Should we find out? So it goes to contact.
That is contact.
And then home. Yep. Contact. See, we're still not allowing that to happen. Does that work? No. So now it's kind of locked itself out, which is never fun.
Because
this presumably never
is never unset.
Yeah. So that's probably the problem. Let's just find out.
Also, by the way, a nice thing about custom elements is that you can just inspect the state by selecting the DOM node in the inspector and look into the internals. Those are not free-floating objects anymore.
Nice. Yeah, so we never get to that point, and I assume it's because of this, which is not fun at all. Right, I'm getting myself into a bit of a pickle over this one, so take a breather. Did anybody else do this? Do you ever stop, go for a cup of tea? Well, you might not go for a cup of tea. That's probably a very British thing to do, isn't it? Let's be honest.
We always need a good cup of tea.
Yeah, I know, right?
It helps to think things through.
Exactly. Right. All right. So the new view. Figure out the new view. Anybody on the live stream, if they can see the bug, they'd be very welcome to say what they see.
I'll let you know.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Right. All right. So unchanged. Here we go. If you're animating, return. It's animating true. Right. What I'm curious about is I might actually just delete the code and write it again. No longer animating. So there you go. Pop that. That's doing that. That's doing the correct thing, right?
Well, I guess, although the message comes a little bit early because it says I'm no longer animating out. I'm now
Okay,
animating.
okay, so I put a terrible debugging message in
I'm
there.
wondering what the semantic of that variable is supposed to be. But I guess it is about I'm no longer animating out.
It's a sort of,
So
it's kind of like, actually, you're right, it's more like should block, should not make more out promises, is what it really is.
Quality code.
Hey, there you go, which, if that's true, there you go. Should be there. If it shouldn't make any more out promises, there you go. Well, you know, as I say, it's just to try and get the kind of the meaning. But the question is then, with that in place, so that goes to home. It calls out, but it's calling out
I
before.
also like the root. I'm wondering if that is actually still true. The should not make.
I think I know why.
Oh, do you?
I think so. I think it's that. I think it's deciding to call the out against the thing that's animating in.
That could very well be true.
And I think,
Yeah, that is.
So I think, let's try that.
Oh, that looks so much better.
We have had our customary one bug per episode. Yes! It happens every single time.
Oh, so
this is so not what we intended. Oh, I know. This time I was like, it's fine, Summer, I won't do the customary one bug. Okay, anyway, right, well, since that singularly failed, yeah, here's what we'll now do. So this
And
is,
yes, we're going to keep that variable.
yeah, should not make more out promises. Well, okay, let's.
We know Java.
It's really long, isn't it?
It's called JavaScript for a reason.
You just what? Well, in which case you'll be like, oh, I'm going to minify this, so I'll just call it this.
Please don't.
No. So if so is transitioning between views. See, at least you should be able to read this, right? So
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't want to create more.
People are asking you to reiterate what the actual bug was.
Okay, so the actual bug was that, let me move it back out here. I was doing this here. So what I was assuming was that if there's a current view, you will want to, and it matches the new one, we want to update its contents. We just want to pass through. So you're on the about section, and we go to about / something else.
Yeah.
Okay. What we wanted to do there is just update it. Okay. That's fine. That's a relatively straightforward bit. If you're going from, say, about to contact, we want to call the out on that. But what we want to do is we want to hold on to the current view. Because if somebody then clicks again, we still want to tell the about view, or whichever view that was the current view, we still want to tell that, go out. You're supposed to transition out. What I was doing is I was updating that variable to be whichever one was expected to come in. But we don't want to do that just yet, because otherwise we'll tell the new one that's about to come in, you should go out. So we're updating the reference to the active view.
Which is actually what we don't want.
Yeah, we're doing it I was doing it too early. See, I was doing it straight away. What we want to do is we only want to point our, what is the current view when the current one that's going out has disappeared.
And the new one is actually coming in.
Yeah, the new one is about to come in. So we could have done it here, or we could have done it here. I mean, to be honest, we could just,
So the lesson you learn from this is when you use promise chains and to bridge over certain time gaps, think about what the state is that you're in.
Yeah, and since this is a promise, we can return it here, and that would then allow us to then .then if we wanted to, and be like console.log.
Done.
Done. Right. Let me just check that's still working after me messing around. So that one goes out. New one comes in, and at the end of it,
Done.
So that's a kind of useful thing about having the promise chains here. So that is working as intended, which is really, really good. So we can now speed things up a little bit. We're like 0.3.
So remark from my side, actually, I returned the promise in my Go function on the router so that external code can latch onto the promise chain and start working after everything has been done by the router.
So yeah, we could totally do that. I mean, I think in this case, we would return that from there, and then we would return that from there.
Exactly.
So we return whatever on chain unchanged would return, which will be the out view promise. However, in this case, we'd also have to do something like that here,
An empty.
like promise.resolve.
Yeah.
So that we're just saying you're always going to get a promise back, but it might just immediately resolve, or it will resolve when the new view has come in.
It resolves when the view that you're requesting is on screen, which
Nice
might
touch.
be immediately or later.
Let me show you something else that is brand new, and this actually does relate to views and the like. Since we have about what 5 minutes. If we want to keep this on the usual customary hour, we're doing an hour, whether we like it or not.
The script says we do the brand new thing, and then.
This is not fair because we're actually not trying to do this. But anyway, okay. What I want to do here's something that often bites people. You've got these 4 views, right?
Yeah.
And notionally they're separate, right? As in, you want to lock things like layout and styles and so on to be completely separate. But things like layout, I mean, I talk about this quite often when I'm doing performance stuff. Like layout is normally scoped to the whole document, right? So if you trigger
Sadly.
layout, yeah, and so people kind of go, this is bad. Let's see about this. Let me show you this. So let's say I'm in the home section. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add myself a box, which is, okay, it's just a box, right? So that's fine. And I'm going to do, I'll do view home. This is where I find out that I can't remember how to do this, but here we go. So let's say width 50 pixels, height 50 pixels, background. What color is the home? I think it's, so let's just do white. And then we'll say position absolute. Oh, absolute. Right. And what we'll do is we'll do keyframes slide. Okay. And we'll say from and then to. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trigger layout. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an animation of something like width, and I'm going to go from 100, no, like 300.
Don't do this at home, kids.
Don't do this at home. Definitely don't do this one at home. I'm just showing you in case for some reason you are actually triggering layout, which is, there are valid times, like you append child or remove child, you're going to trigger layout, for example. So let me show you this. So width from 300 to 100. And so I guess I'll do animation, animation name will be slide in, not slide, slide. Animation duration, 3 seconds, and then animation iteration count, infinite. So like say we've got that.
How to drain your battery.
Well, yeah. So if I refresh that, so you see I've got this animation, right? And let me just put a left on it, so it's like left 100 pixels. Okay. Come on. Right, so we've got this, and if we do a timeline recording, and this will be fast because it's a decent MacBook.
Yeah.
So it's a different.
Do this on a phone. Things will look different.
Yeah. So, but what you can see is during this animation, if I zoom in on any one of the frames, and admittedly, as I say, this is comfortably 60 frames a second, right? There's no.
It's a BV. There's no DOM tree really that needs to be relayouted.
Yeah, this is a small DOM. There's no issue here. But if you did have an issue, I'm just showing it for the sake of showing it really because I think it's really interesting. See the layout route here is the document, and the number of nodes that need layout is 3. So you've got the box. You've got its parent, which will be the SC view, and then the body above it. So that's why, so that's why you've got those 3, I think. And so you can see that effectively it's document scope, right? Because the layout route is
So if you think about it, you would have like a navigation drawer that we wrote last time outside. That would get relayouted even though nothing changed.
Yeah, and so this is a brand new property that's coming in. Because on my view, I've got something like position fixed, and I've actually set, tell you what, I'm going to switch that across to width and height because I think it might need it. Width 100%, height 100%. We'll have to check the details. But if I put contain strict, now if you've not come across the contain property, basically it would let you say layout, styles, paint, or strict, and there's also content, and that will what it'll do is it'll lock off some of the calculations. I put strict on, which is like the keyword for all of them. So styles, paint, layout, and content as well, I think. In any case, what we should see now, all being well, if I do this, stop recording, stop it, stop. Da, da, da. We zoom in. We're still going to have layout, but you can see now the layout route has actually been fixed to that particular view, which means we're no longer potentially affecting all these other views that have nothing to do with this particular one. We're saying essentially this is a layout boundary. It's the root of this calculation. So you can find this in the current Canary I don't know what the support status is generally outside of Chrome, but it's something that's incoming, and I wanted to show it because, as I say, I mean, in this case, the layout time is so minuscule, it doesn't matter. But on a big app, when you've got a lot of views going back and forth, and you potentially trigger layout, which historically might have been really expensive to deal with Contain Strict, you're going to be a lot better off. So, with that said, I mean, I've got a ridiculous animation, which I'm just gonna remove it after this. But what we're gonna do, all right, what we're gonna do, we are gonna call this a day because we've hit pretty much the hour mark. We had our customary bug. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. He can't believe I've done that. I can't believe it either. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your questions. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget, you can find us on Twitter. You can let us know what you want us to cover next. We can cover a more advanced router next time, or we could do an expand and collapse view or something like that. You let us know what you want us to do, and we will try and get it done. And thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
See you then.